welcome to Ladies of Another View on Beck TV. We are in Watford City, North Dakota, and I have Jean Beater with me. Welcome to the show, Jean.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. You know, I came into town and it's been phenomenal, but I don't want to take up all the time. I want you to tell us a little bit about the history. How did Watford City get its roots?
Well, it's interesting. You know, we're up here in the north part of the United States and kind of one of the last places to be really found, and for a number of different reasons. But looking back, you know, the original non-native inhabitants that came here wind up coming up here with cattle drivers from Texas. And it's interesting to do that contrast now, and the energy industry is kind of also a lot of those participants from Texas. We have a lot of connections to Texas. But in the early 1800s, mid 1800s, you know, this place was basically the confluence of the Yellowstone and the Missouri River created an interesting geographical piece for us, because the people were heading on to west for trapping and trading with the native populations, wound up using the Missouri River and the Yellowstone River. So that was kind of the first introduction of settlers that came in the early 1800s. North Dakota really didn't become a state then until the late 1800s. And in fact, I just saw a fact the other night that they were recognized as a county. Mackenzie County is recognized as a county, and then that was withdrawn because they didn't have enough settlers till like 1905. So the county was recognized as a settleable community, and then it was withdrawn because there just wasn't anybody that wanted to come up here.
And then wasn't there some hooligans, something about the town of Schaefer, the town of Watford
City?
City?
Interesting. Yeah, the city of Alexander had the county seat at the time, and most of this area, if you look back on it, the single defining factor for settlement here was the railroads. So the city of Alexander had the county seat, but the railroad was coming in through from the west of the east, and it wound up had a sighting at Schaefer, and so basically they wound up through all kinds of probably shenanigans, wind up with the county seat in Schaefer, which is just east of Watford City. Well, then they lost it to the city of Watford City because the rail never got all the way to Schaefer, which is just 6 or 7 miles out of here. But there's quite a history of the city of Schaefer. That all moved to Watford City then. 1900s were kind of the key time, 1900 to 1915. The cattle drivers that came from Texas were looking for grass. It was dry there, and they were looking for grass on the way to Montana. The Long X Trail, you'll see much of the history of Mackenzie County, they call it the Long X. Well, that's what the name of the trail was, from the Reynolds family that came out of Texas and pushed their first cattle up here. Of course, they were looking for good grass, and I assume that they found the Dakotas in a time of lush and ample rainfall, and they thought they were in heaven. I don't think they anticipated what happened in winter.
And I don't think they anticipated what would have happened even this year with the drought.
Absolutely, or droughts, those kind of things. So some of that was successful and some of it wasn't. You know, most people know the story of Theodore Roosevelt, who also had a ranch in Mackenzie County. The Elkhorn Ranch is south of, just in the southern parts of the county. It's wonderful cattle country, but you have to be prepared for those 3 or 4 months of winter, and they didn't have the capacity to put up hay and those kind of things. So that was the first wave of the big ranches that are here. An interesting thing, the North Dakota Cowboy Hall of Fame recognizes the big ranches in the country and those people who had influence in the first cattle productions. Most of them were in Mackenzie County. In fact, quite a few of them were neighbors of mine. They wound up having finding grass on Fort Berthold Indian Reservation, large tracts of grass, and once the first settlers came in and figured out they're going to have to do something with the winter, then those big ranches, they had plans for wintering, and they were able to keep those cattle. Then in 1910 to 1915, the immigration of European settlers, that was basically German and Norwegian and some Russian. They were the immigrants that came here because it was kind of the last place that you could get land.
Okay.
So that basically became farming country. They started just like the story was. They started fencing off and became more family farms, and they started breaking up soil, which basically led to the first real extended drought in the 30s. Created basically a blueprint for what happened in Mackenzie County. A lot of this land probably shouldn't have been broken up. And we didn't have the conservation practices at the time. Consequently, we wound up with a dust bowl. The Roosevelt administration came in to try to save this part of the country. A lot of the southern areas were unsettled. The administration bought a lot of those lands back. And so Mackenzie County now has well over 500,000 acres of public land.
Wow.
That was purchased through Bankhead Jones, through the Theodore Roosevelt National Park, the Corps of Engineers land, BLM. So it's an anomaly that a county this size, almost half of it is public land.
Interesting. So we only have about a minute left. We had an oil boom. Was it like the Clampets? Were they just digging?
The first
and all
oil
of a sudden,
boom was in the 50s. It was some of the first wells in the country came here. We went through this boom cycle for a number of times, 5 or 6 times since then. They drilled through this Bakken that we deal with now. About 10 years ago, they found the technology to directionally drill and hydro flood these zones, and it created this environment that you're seeing today. The leaders in this community did a great job of capitalizing on that and saying natural resources is what this county lives on: wheat, cattle, and oil, and that's where we're at today.
Interesting. So you also have like 100 years of history in the last 10 years, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, when I first started working, Mackenzie County was an absolute out-migration community. We were down to about 12 kids in our kindergarten. Today we have about 200, and that happened in 10 years. But that's all about jobs and quality of life, and some of the things that we'll talk about later today is how do you get people to live here. It starts with quality employment.
Great. Well, we appreciate you being here, Gene, and I hope everyone just come to Watford City, not just for the history, but for what's going on now. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this and learn about a lynching right here in Mackenzie County. Thanks again.
Thank you.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Women's Way, First International Bank of Watford City, RTC Network.
When a group of local residents came together to form a rural telephone cooperative in 1951, they made a commitment to keep their member owners informed and connected. That cooperative was RTC. And while the technology we use to communicate has changed over the years, that commitment remains true today. RTC is committed to providing the highest quality internet connectivity to our neighbors in West Central North Dakota. RTC, building our network so you can grow yours.
Lund Oil Incorporated of Watford City is the premier refined product service company fulfilling the residential and commercial demands of western North Dakota and eastern Montana. Contact Lund Oil today to learn how they can assist you with your propane, fuel transport, and bulk fuel delivery needs. Lund Oil of Watford City, committed to being your safe and reliable source of gas, fuel, oil, and lubricants.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. Travel the country with Trent on the loose, and we'll find those interesting human interest stories behind the people that bring us the efficient food supply. Trent on the loose.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of you, your family, living your lives first. And this is exactly what we love to hear. At First International Bank and Trust, living first is intentional, providing your family sound banking solutions so you are free to live, one breath, one splash at a time. First International Bank and Trust. Live first.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Barrett Pharmacy, Dakota West Credit Union, Farmers Union Oil, Cenex of Watford City.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Back. I have the pleasure of visiting with Daniel Stenberg right here in Watford City. And it's so interesting because, you know, we talked a little bit about the history in our last segment, but there's some more history, a little bit dark, that you're going to tell us about. There was a movie that was done here. Tell us all about it.
Sure, yeah. So I actually, when I worked at our museum here in town, it was the most popular exhibit was about Charles Bannon. And it's not a great story, but it's a very compelling story, just in the intrigue that happened here back in the 1930s.
And so tell us about it. I understand that there was a lynching.
Yeah. And so it was a farmhand and a family that was murdered. And people weren't really sure what was going to happen, but then the townspeople decided that they had made up their mind who it was, and they took justice into their own hands.
Right. I stopped up at the museum, and it's quite a museum, and they actually still have the rope that he was allegedly hung with. They have the mask that went over their heads. But there was a gentleman here in town by the name of Dennis Johnson, and he wrote a book about the story. Tell us a little bit about Dennis.
Yeah, Dennis he's been a state's attorney for the county for probably a few decades, and then as he is getting older and everything, retired, he's been very interested in that story, and he's actually written a book about it, and it's updated it a couple times, volume 3, and then Dan Belinsky, who's a movie producer, was in town showing some of his Western movies that he's been filming in Western North Dakota. And someone has said, hey, have you ever heard of Dennis Johnson's book, End of the Rope? And Dan Belinsky said no. And so then they gave him the book, and very, very quickly, he's like, I'm going to turn this into a movie. And then August of this year, we were filming a movie in Mackenzie County about this story in itself.
Interesting. So you were actually an extra in the movie, right?
Yeah. That was a very interesting experience to be a part of the set. I mean, they did an excellent job building the set. It was set as a 1930s Schaefer, North Dakota, in Mackenzie County, and yeah, it was a very beautiful set, and super excited. It was hot and dusty, and probably very similar to the 1930s. We set up in a farmer's field just south of town, and it was a really cool experience to be a part of. Great,
and then also at the museum, they actually have a copy of the newspaper that from the day when he was. The whole story is in the newspaper, but they also have the book, and you can get the book right here in town at the museum. And we don't want to tell the whole story, but how did they determine it was him?
Well, it was just based off of just kind of all of the evidence was leading kind of towards him. And so and then there's thoughts that he may have actually been a part of other murders in the community as well. And the community didn't feel that the judicial system maybe was going to be able to convict him, and so they thought that they better take things into their own hands.
Wow. And it's considered the last lynching in the state of North Dakota.
Right. Yes.
And what year was that, if you remember?
It was in the beginning of the 30s. 31, 32.
Okay. So then, Daniel, you're also the Mackenzie County Economic Development Director right here in town, and I tell you, if you haven't been to Watford City, you have to. This whole community is so outstanding. Tell us a little bit about the community.
Yeah, usually in economic development, we're trying to bring jobs to our community, but with the natural resources that we have, specifically the petroleum products that are getting produced here, we have more of a challenge getting the amount of workers that we need into our community. And so that shifts my job into more of quality of life, just all of these other extra amenities that we need, like housing, childcare, more retail opportunities, those kind of things is kind of where our focus has been the last 4 or 5 years in economic development, is to kind of accommodate the growth that we've had as a 100% there are 1,000% Hispanic population growth and 250% city growth, in the past 10 years. And so it's provided a lot of opportunities. There's challenges in there, but I'd much rather be on this side of those challenges than on the other side.
Right. And so you had mentioned that the Hispanic community has really grown up here. What's that like in the school setting? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like what I grew up here. When I grew up here, I mean, it was Germans and Lutherans and Catholics and Norwegians, different. I mean, there's much more diversity. And so there's actually teachers specifically hired for English as second language class opportunities and getting just students so that they can get educated properly here.
Great. And you have an initiative, it's called the Voices of Watford City. Tell us about that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the idea was obviously media picks on the most sensational stories out there that are happening in the community. And 2014, 2015 was a very, very hard time of transition for our community. When you're growing in double-digit percentages, it's just difficult. And so the idea was we wanted to tell the stories of our folks that have been coming in from all over the place and just kind of help control our narrative a little bit, and so that we can showcase just what's happening in our community.
And that's great, because when we hear about the oil boom, the oil towns, etc., you always hear the bad things, and you hear about the man camps and the dangers. And it's like, I have been here, I've stayed here 4 times now in the last month, and it's been nothing but welcoming and warm, and the people here are unbelievable. You have shopping all over the city. If you need something, you can find it right here in Watford City, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's there's been a lot of long-term strategy that's been happening, and then we've had to adjust on the fly just because you don't necessarily know what the next year is going to bring. But we've had strong leadership from all different levels, and a lot of just community partnerships that different relationships with the school district, with the city, with the county, so that we're all kind of on the same page as to what our big goals are, and making sure that this is kind of a long-term community.
Sure. And you also have quite the education system, and you're trying to get the kids kind of skilled up in a sense, and then there's some free education at Williston.
Yes, yeah. No, we're working hard on a Bakken Area Skills Center, which will be kind of our next step up to do technical trainings here. And then everybody who graduates from Mackenzie County has the opportunity for a full tuition scholarship to Williston State College, thanks to that foundation that they have up there.
That's incredible. Okay, well, Daniel, I want to say thank you again for being a guest and telling us all about the mystery. It's not a mystery anymore, but if you want to pick up the book, you can find it at the Pioneer Museum, and you can watch the movie and see if you can find Daniel in the movie. Kind of like, where's Waldo? Where's Daniel? We'll be right back after this and talk a little bit about tourism.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Greg's Welding, Pizza Pie on the Fly, Larson Service Drug.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of you, your family, living your lives first. And this is exactly what we love to hear. At First International Bank and Trust, living first is intentional, providing your family sound banking solutions so you are free to live, one breath, one splash at a time. First International Bank and Trust. Live first.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Lund Oil, L's Boutique, Cornerstone Bank.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jill Clemene. I'm a family medicine physician and also work in the breast specialty clinic. We typically see patients with any concerns with their breasts, lumps, bumps, rashes, pain, anything. I really care about women here in North Dakota and feel so strongly about these women really taking the best care of themselves, and part of that is getting breast cancer screening on a yearly basis. If you're a healthcare provider, help save a life and make a Women's Way connection. Many women are eligible, and you can help connect them to Women's Way.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by One Oak, Beaver Creek Creations, Watford City Chamber of Commerce.
As a cooperative, RTC doesn't answer to outside shareholders. We are owned by the people we serve, the people we see every day in our schools, communities, and homes, the people we care about most. As we continue to serve our member owners, RTC is committed to providing the highest quality internet to keep our communities connected to friends, family, and the world. RTC, Connected Cooperative, Connected Community.
Lund Oil Incorporated of Watford City is the premier refined product service company fulfilling the residential and commercial demands of western North Dakota and eastern Montana. Contact Lund Oil today to learn how they can assist you with your propane, fuel transport, and bulk fuel delivery needs. Lund Oil of Watford City, committed to being your safe and reliable source of gas, fuel, oil, and lubricants.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Panther Pressure Testers Incorporated, Pioneer Museum of Mackenzie County, OK Implement in Napa,
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. I have the privilege of sitting with Doug Bolkin right here in Watford City, North Dakota, a very fun town. Doug is the Mackenzie County Tourism Attractions and Promotions Director.
That's correct.
Oh, that's a mouthful.
It is.
So with that being said, I know you have a lot to talk about.
We do, yeah. We with attractions and promotions, we have a number of attractions around the community and around surrounding Watford City. Along with my position, I have an events person that's Jesse Dieter Schofield. So the two of us are really key in the promotion of the area. One great thing about Watford City, not just Watford City in itself, we have some great activities, amenities right here in Watford City, from over 800 hotel rooms that were recently built. We have over 25 restaurants, dining experiences right here in town. We're in the beautiful Rough Rider Center right now that allows us to do a lot of indoor activities when that cold winter comes. We have an outdoor sporting facility here. We have our golf course, our brand new 18-hole golf course right here in the community. So for a community of our size, we have a tremendous amount of amenities. And then just surrounding us, the beautiful part about where we're located, to the north we have the Lakes Kakawea and everything fishing up there, ice fishing in the wintertime. To the east we have the MHA Nation with the Interpretive Center, the brand new Interpretive Center.
That's beautiful.
It's just incredible. So, and that's only 46 miles away with Earth Lodge Village. To the west, we have Fort Buford, Fort Union, and the Confluence, and everything in that area. And we're centrally located. Everything around us is either 20 to 40 miles away, 50 miles away. And then, our crown jewel for us is the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. We like to say that we are the gateway to Theodore Roosevelt National Park, and that's only 13 miles to the south. Right there you can do a number of activities. Of course, it's open year-round with hiking and all the hiking trails there, but then across the river, the hiking of the Mataji, the trailhead of the Mataji Trail. So
some of our viewers might not know what the Mataji Trail is. Tell us what that is.
Well, the Mataji Trail, the trailhead is about 15 miles. It's just right across the river, right across the Little Missouri River, across from the entrance to the national park. It is 146 total miles that starts in just south of us, starts at the CCC campground, and it's a single track trail across the national grasslands into Medora and beyond. There's a lot of different activities that happen. There's a lot of races, and whether it's bike racing or foot races on the trail. It's open to the public. You can enter the trail many different locations down through the national grasslands. people like myself, I can go on the trail. I'm probably not going to climb the high peak ones, but it's very comfortable for all types of hikers or bikers.
And I also understand that they have horses on those trails.
They do. They absolutely do. What is available, there's no motor vehicle, so no motor bikes on it. So it's walking, hiking, mountain bikes, and horseback riding.
Oh, okay.
And there are corrals throughout, so you will be able to house your horse.
Along with little lodges that you can actually stay along the trail as well.
There's campground facilities as you're going down to Medora, so that gives you, if you want to do the full length, you can do that, or you can either enter off of Highway 85 south of us. You can enter into Magpie Campground or the different campgrounds on the route. So
Sure.
if you just want to camp there on the trail, not too far off the trail, is Ice Caves. It's one of those neat locations that's in the county that you can hike.
What is that exactly?
The Ice Caves is a really interesting. A lot of people, it's one of the best kept secrets. It shouldn't be a best kept secret. It's about a mile. You can take a drive out to. It's off of Grassy Butte, just out of Grassy Butte. You can take a drive out to it, and it's about a mile hike, pretty comfortable hike. And the Ice Caves were formed, or they're a cave that in the wintertime, the snow gets blown in there and it just freezes the ground and it gets packed in there, so that come summertime there's ice in the caves in probably July, August. Back in the day, historically they would this would be their refrigerator. They'd
Sure.
bring stuff there to cool or keep cool through the summertime.
Oh, interesting.
There's not a whole lot of them around the nation, so we have one here, and and the hike out to it is incredible. So.
Awesome. Well, before the show, you were talking about Watford City being a 2-night stay town. You could actually get 3 or 4 nights out of it.
You could. We like to promote 2 nights because of how we're centrally located. The 2-night stay and all the things that are surrounding us. We have great amenities at night, like I said, restaurants and the like. And we promote 2 nights here with 2 nights in Medora. And because we are 2 distinctly different, Medora has such great amenities down there. We have, we're year-round, we're open year-round here, but with all the different amenities, and so you're not rushed, and you can be centrally located. So I definitely think 2 nights.
It makes sense to stay right here in Watford City, that's for sure. You also have a fantastic golf course owned by the city?
It is owned by the city. It's a 18-hole golf course, and they just developed it into 18 holes, and it is one of the top golf courses. It's in its infancy right now, so it's only going to get better and better.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know there's a lot of people that just leave for the weekend and hit different golf courses.
Right.
So you need to check out Watford City, that's for sure. And then I know that the Chamber's going to talk a little bit about their Rib Fest, but a lot of people stop here on their way from Sturgis.
We do. During Sturgis, and that's during our Rib Fest period, the first Friday of August, and big event here for Watford City. And so a lot will be either when the borders opens up even more, a lot of Canadians will travel down and stop here, make this a stop. And during Ribfest, or during Sturgis rally, Ribfest is happening. And so that's exciting for us. But we have events throughout the year, starting from, in the summer with our fair all the way up until Christmas. So
Sure. And then you also embrace people coming in for different meetings into the area as well?
We have a great meeting facilities here. We're right here in the Rough Rider Center that offers meetings from 25 to 750 people that could be here and throughout the community.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And they hold weddings here too, I heard.
Absolutely. Beautiful weddings right here in this concourse. Gorgeous weddings.
Yes. Yeah. So I just have to mention, I stayed here a few times now, but I stayed at the residential suites, Teddy's Residential Suites. I am a cattle rancher. I had the best steak of my entire life at Teddy's Lounge.
Oh, isn't that great?
And it's just surprised me that you have such amenities, food, shopping, everything right here.
Right. Yeah, we're very proud of all of our hotels that we have here. Pretty deluxe accommodations, and people don't really think that of Watford City. I have to say, we probably have the best accommodations across the state.
I think you do.
I might be biased.
I think, but that's okay. All right, we're going to have to wrap up now. I appreciate you coming in today. We're going to talk a little bit more with the Chamber and all kinds of goodies after this. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. Welcome to Watford City, my hometown. You know, today I have the pleasure to have Patrick Bertinelli with me. He is the Rough Rider Center and Community Enhancement Director. Welcome to the show, Pat.
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
You know, it's so exciting because you have done so much for Watford City. You have absolutely been their knight in shining armor. But there's a little program that you have, and it's called the Ambassadors Program. Tell us all about that.
Okay, I work with the high school students, and where this all evolved is when I was in private industry as an HR professional, I was kind of experiencing people who wanted to come out to North Dakota but didn't necessarily want to bring their families. And we all know that those people who come out without their families, we just really have no likelihood of retaining those people. So working with the school on a skills initiative program, I got to know some of the staff members, and they were sharing with me just how much the students absolutely love Watford City. So I got in front of the student council with the help of Amy Polifka. She's a science teacher in the high school. So we co-chair this ambassador program. But I got in front of those kids and I just said, you know, as I get people that I'm trying to get out here to North Dakota, and let's just say hypothetically, John from Oklahoma and his wife's a teacher and their daughter is a sophomore in high school. My question to you kids and you students is, would you jump on the phone with his daughter and just share your journey and your experience and let her know that, you know, she's not the first one to move away? And these kids, we probably had 50 students who volunteered to get on the phone with John's daughter. And this program has just evolved, and we're really working on finding ways to integrate our community, our industry, and our schools. And these students have just done a fantastic job.
You know, you've told a few stories to me while I was in Watford City regarding the kids, how anxious they are to be so helpful. And I think just recently you had a parent that was in the medical providers or the healthcare system, and then a daughter or a child that was going to the school. Tell our viewers about that.
So these students are kind of part of our community integration program. And so as we get new people exploring our community and, you know, considering that move, we certainly understand that that's a traumatic decision. So I've got a family currently right now that an organization is looking at relocating to this community. The wife is a nurse and their daughter is a sophomore, heavily involved in volleyball. So these kids are on deck when that family comes here to sit down with that sophomore just to make sure that she feels welcome, special, and important and wanted here, and that these kids would also, you know, help her with her integration into the school. And we've already made contacts with the hospital. We've got that family completely covered once they get here. And when they go back to their home state, there's absolutely no way they're not going to want to move here. So these kids have just done a fantastic job. And again, they're part of our integration platform, and they absolutely want to be a part of that.
You know, and when I was in Watford City, you guys have so many things that are available to any family moving to the area. It's just unbelievable for a community your size. They are just the beautiful facilities. Tell us what to expect, you know, in the high school, what, you know, the new buildings, the Rough Rider Center. Just kind of briefly tell us what they could expect.
Obviously, you know, we're going to get that family and we're going to give them a tour of the Rough Rider Center. And through that tour, they're going to volunteer some things to us, you know, about their involvement, whether they coached wrestling, football, basketball, whatever. And they're going to give us some intel that is going to help us further integrate them into the community. And of course, after the tour there, then we have our high school ambassadors give them a tour of the school and just really provide comfort to that family that their child's going to be taken care of and is going to be respected and successful in our school program. And they just do an unbelievable job. And like I say, these kids, they absolutely want to be part of this integration program.
Great, Pat. I want to thank you for joining the My Hometown show coming from Watford City. You guys have so much to share. Thanks, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
My Hometown of Watford City is brought to you by DNB Energy Services, Hawkeye Oil Field and Supply, Roosevelt Inn and Suites.
Hi, I'm Kirsty Hintz. I'm an RN at Bismarck-Burley Public Health, and I'm a local coordinator for the Women's Way program of North Dakota. Women's Way is a program that offers breast and cervical cancer screenings to eligible women in North Dakota. I love that I get to help women every day and really make it easy for them to get these screenings that really could save their lives. Getting screened is a great way for you to take care of yourself and be there for your family and those you love.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by One Oak, Beaver Creek Creations, Watford City Chamber of Commerce.
Lund Oil Incorporated of Watford City is the premier refined product service company fulfilling the residential and commercial demands of western North Dakota and eastern Montana. Contact Lund Oil today to learn how they can assist you with your propane, fuel transport, and bulk fuel delivery needs. Lund Oil of Watford City, committed to being your safe and reliable source of gas, fuel, oil, and lubricants.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by DNB Energy Services, Hawkeye Oil Field and Supply, Roosevelt Inn and Suites.
When a group of local residents came together to form a rural telephone cooperative in 1951, they made a commitment to keep their member owners informed and connected. That cooperative was RTC. And while the technology we use to communicate has changed over the years, that commitment remains true today. RTC is committed to providing the highest quality internet connectivity to our neighbors in West Central North Dakota. RTC, building our network so you can grow yours.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of you, your family, living your lives first. And this is exactly what we love to hear. At First International Bank and Trust, living first is intentional, providing your family sound banking solutions so you are free to live, one breath, one splash at a time. First International Bank and Trust. Live first.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Women's Way, First International Bank of Watford City, RTC Network.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. I am sitting with the mayor of Watford City, Phil Riley. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know, I came up here and I saw this Rough Rider Center and it is amazing. I mean, nothing short of amazing. Tell us all about it. Tell us how it got started, first of all.
You know, when oil first come to western North Dakota, nobody really expected it to take off as hard and as fast as it did. Once we realized that we were running into an industry off a boom, and we started talking to the people that live in and around Watford City, we realized that there was a need for not necessarily a convention center, but we needed to do something for the people of the surrounding communities, that we could bring them together, provide some nice to have things in a community to get people to come to Watford City, and not just them, but bring their wife and their kids with them. When it was a town of 1,600 people, you know, we didn't have a lot of those amenities that could sustain a large population. So the Rough Rider Center really was a brainchild of that. What can we do? We want to bring people to Watford City and keep them in Watford City. We already had an indoor hockey rink, but we shared that with the fairgrounds. So when we were looking at different things we could do, we knew we wanted a couple sheets of ice. We knew in Watford City, it was really fun to go to a big city. You know, during the winter time, your kids could swim. Well, we knew we wanted an opportunity for an indoor pool. We knew we wanted a little larger area to play basketball, moving up a division in basketball. Our high school gym was too small. We were building a new high school, so we put that on the same campus. There was a lot of kind of wish list items that we'd had talked about for years. And when we finally decided that we were going to build a facility, you know, we really got to sit down and really implement a lot of those things.
Interesting. You know, you said that you have basketball facilities here, and what comes to my mind is your schools were almost ready to consolidate. as far as before the boom, and the boom hits and all of a sudden you have all these kids and no place for practice and no place for anything. And so here in the Rough Rider Center, I think you have 3 basketball courts, don't you?
Yep. So we actually have, I think if you clear everything off, I think we got 7 or 8.
Wow.
You know, if you push all the bleachers in, and if you're just playing basketball, we have a lot of courts. But you know, and you were dead on the money. Back in the 90s, we had actually talked about closing our grade school and putting the entirety of the school system into one building, which is now our middle school. We have built an additional grade school and a new high school. So that really showed how Watford City has expanded and really drove the need for additional facilities for not only public use, but community school use, the different clubs around the area, you know.
Sure. You know, and I look around the building and it is stunning and it is state of the art. How did you pay for it?
Bonding. You know, gross production tax is a wonderful thing, but it's just like the market. You know, stocks and bonds go up and down. There's an ebb and flow with everything we do, and so is gross production tax. Watford City was never a big fan of taking on debt, but we understood when we moved into this new age in the life of Watford City that there was no way we were going to get away paying cash for everything. So we talked to the players in Watford City. We talked to the community. You know, because when you do take on debt, you do have to increase your tax base. We still do have one of the lowest property taxes in the state of North Dakota, which is absolutely wonderful for us. But that also gave us the opportunity to take on a little bit more debt as a community to build a facility.
And then didn't you have some donations too?
Yep, we did have some donations. Steve Stenjum donated the property. You know, anybody that's ever looked at doing anything in the Bakken understands how expensive property is. So that was a huge benefit for the Stenjum Foundation to provide us. Just dirt. Nobody realizes how expensive dirt is.
Right. And didn't One Oak also step up?
Yep. One Oak has done some donations for us also. A lot of the community players, you know, the big companies gave money, but also, you know, we got donations from the small mom and pop, from the Main Street businesses.
Nice.
You know, you don't buy it, you can build a facility like this on your own, but we had such a wonderful buy-in from the community. It really made it easy.
Amen. Amen to that. And I understand now that this is going to be the home of the Bismarck Bucks training camp.
Yeah. What's pretty exciting about that, you know, Pat Bertinoli's really gone out of his way and done some wonderful things. To have the Bismarck Bucks come to Watford City, it's kind of exciting. As a hometown boy, moved away, went to college and met my lovely wife. And when we moved back, you know, I would have never thought about having the Bismarck Bucks. You know, like I said, we had to go to Bismarck if we wanted to go swimming in the wintertime. So now we have Bismarck Bucks coming to Watford City for training. It's super exciting. It's fun to watch. It's not something that I was ever able to experience as a kid, but now my kids are going to consider that a normal thing, which I think is just pretty. I think that's kind of a little notch in our brim for Watford.
Yes, a great relationship.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're going to be eating here, sleeping here, playing here, you know, all kinds of activities. In fact, I had talked to Pat Bertinelli, and he had mentioned, too, that they're looking for things to do, you know, on when they have their downtime, too, just because when you house a large group like that, you want something for them to do. And, of course, they're all athletic. They do their workouts and whatnot, so they might be looking for some gaming opportunities and that type of thing. So pretty exciting days ahead. But yeah, what a beautiful facility. I understand you can have weddings here. You can have meetings here. I mean, anybody, you can even rent a birthday party room.
Yep. So my kids have had birthday parties here. The company I work for, when I'm not the mayor of Watford City, we hold our safety meetings here. We've gone to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and Pheasants Forever, and we just had the North Dakota State Firemen's Convention, you know, and like the North Dakota State Firemen's Convention, something we never would have been able to do without a facility like this. So, you know, we have some great websites, you know, like Visit Watford City. There's always something to do around here. And if you want to ever see that in action, just spend a weekend here at the Rough Rider Center. You'll see we'll have 2 sheets of ice full of kids. We'll have a pool full. We'll have something going on in the field house, and we'll have some games going on in the other area, then we might have a meeting, or we might have someone setting up for a convention in the convention area. So it's pretty exciting. This place is high energy, so it's a lot of fun just to come out and walk around. We have a great walking track, so which was a benefit when your kids are in class. The walking track is really handy for mom and dad to take circles on. So
it doesn't isn't there some training camps with Mario Lamoureux for hockey? We only have just a couple seconds.
They've come here a couple years. They usually have a hockey game. We auction off some jerseys. It's a great way to get some action on our ice. And again, it's a wonderful thing for Watford City. It brings people into the community and gives the people that live here something to do.
All right. Well, Phil, thanks for coming on today, and thanks for sharing everything that we need to know about this event center. It's fantastic. The Rough Rider Center right here in Watford City, North Dakota. We'll be right back after this.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Barrett Pharmacy, Dakota West Credit Union, Farmers Union Oil, Cenex of Watford City. My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Greg's Welding, Pizza Pie on the Fly, Larson Service Drug. Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now.
Lund Oil Incorporated of Watford City is the premier refined product service company fulfilling the residential and commercial demands of western North Dakota and eastern Montana. Contact Lund Oil today to learn how they can assist you with your propane, fuel transport, and bulk fuel delivery needs. Lund Oil of Watford City, committed to being your safe and reliable source of gas, fuel, oil, and lubricants.
As a cooperative, RTC doesn't answer to outside shareholders. We are owned by the people we serve, the people we see every day in our schools, communities, and homes, the people we care about most. As we continue to serve our member owners, RTC is committed to providing the highest quality internet to keep our communities connected to friends, family, and the world. RTC, Connected Cooperative, Connected Community.
Hi, everybody. I'm Doug Billings, host of The Right Side with Doug Billings, where we take great joy every day in entering into your lives at key moments to make differences for the better. That's how we fulfill the meaning of life. You can see me on Beck TV and Beck.news. Cheers.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of you, your family, living your lives first. And this is exactly what we love to hear. At First International Bank and Trust, living first is intentional, providing your family sound banking solutions so you are free to live, one breath, one splash at a time. First International Bank and Trust. Live first.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Panther Pressure Testers Incorporated, Pioneer Museum of Mackenzie County, OK Implement in Napa.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View on Beck. We are still in Watford City. It's been amazing, and I don't even want to leave, but we're sitting here with Mary Gumpke, and she is with the Chamber. So welcome to the show, Mary.
Thank you, and thank you for coming to Watford City.
Oh, it's been fantastic. I've had the best food, the best steak I've ever had my entire life right here in Watford City, North Dakota, and we farm and ranch, so I have to throw that out there. It is
a lot.
Amazing. And so tell us a little bit about your community.
Oh, there's so much to tell. I was born and raised here, and I moved back 20 years ago. I love Watford City.
I can see that.
It's a great place to live. It's there's a lot going on. We went from 1,500 people 13 years ago, a dying community, to the largest growth in the nation for our county. And our businesses are booming. We have a lot of boutiques, restaurants, hotels, activities, something for everybody. Our sports programs are great. Just a lot going on here.
Well, I can attest to the boutiques. I stopped at Elle's boutique and it was amazing. Ended up getting some Christmas presents and some shopping for myself and just a little bit of everything. She has everything there. So kudos and a shout out to Elle's boutique, who also sponsored the show. But, this went from a one dock town to a major medical facility. Tell us about that.
It was... growing up here, it was a one dock town and everybody knew the doctor. And then, 15 years ago, our little community is dying. And with the growth of oil and gas, our city realized that we need more. We need better medical, better medical facility, better care. We were kind of an older generation community, and for people to have to travel to Bismarck or Dickinson or Minot, it was difficult. And our city, our mayor, our city council, they just, saw that this is something important that we need to work on, and we need to figure out how to get this state-of-the-art medical facility here. And it's been great. It's my parents are older; they don't have to travel out of town. You can have babies in Watford City now, and surgeries, pretty much everything. It's been great. The growth of the medical facility is wonderful, and our schools and the beautiful Rough Rider Center.
Right, because you just built a brand new high school as well. We did. Yep, we did. It's actually connected to the Rough Rider Center, which is great because our sports teams use the Rough Rider facility, for games and practices and stuff. And 15 years ago, we had two small schools. They were talking about combining them to one school, and now we have a high school, a middle school, and two elementary schools that are busting at the seams. That's amazing. So I've heard a head count for kindergarten between 200 and 300. What is a accurate figure? I would say that's pretty accurate. Yep. We have, the two elementary schools, and so each elementary has at least 4 or 5 kindergarten classrooms. Wow. So, lots of kids. The median age here has changed dramatically, I heard. Right. It's, I believe it's about 30, where 15 years ago it was probably 65. And so we have a lot of young families. And so, with the medical facility being able to have babies here, and the Rough Rider Center, for activities for young families, it's been great. It's a great draw for, people coming to move here. There's a lot for young families to do. And so a lot of people might not understand how important it is to have a baby in your hometown. It's like you used to have to drive to Bismarck or maybe Williston, or maybe Minot. And so you have to drive to make sure, say there's a storm coming. They always had to go a day or two before or a week before the due date. So it's a big deal. It is. To have a critical care center right here in your community. It is. It's great. So let's fast forward and talk about the Rib Fest. I hear that's a pretty big deal. It is. I believe this year was our 19th year for Rib Fest. And it started out as a group of downtown businesses kind of got together and decided, we need to maybe draw some people coming to Sturgis or coming back from Sturgis. Let's make a little community event. Started out very small, where businesses, the bank, the grocery store, they were making 25 pounds of ribs, and people would come down. They'd have a little local music and sell some ribs, and it was a fun little event. And obviously, like everything, it's grown a little bit. When we moved back here in 2008, we came into town the day of Rib Fest, and it was in a parking lot. Now, we take up 4 blocks of Main Street and then some. We have at the most 25 cookers, rib cookers, cooking 7,500 pounds of ribs. So is it everyone brings their own recipe? Is it a competition as well? It's a competition. Yep. We have the different teams. It's a competition. They all have their own secret recipes. Some are spicy, some are sweet, some are dry.
You know, it's what everybody likes. And the great thing is we have so many people from all over the United States that they're, you know, they bring their ribs from Texas or from Louisiana or California. So it's a great variety of ribs.
Sure,
you know,
because
different kinds.
It's such a melting pot up here.
It is, very much so.
You know, and speaking of melting pots, you also just had some type of a Mexican Christmas festival. Tell us about that.
We did. So there's a, you know, we have a lot of Hispanics in town now. We've got a lot of, you know, Mexican restaurants and a lot of, you know, people that you know, they see Christmas a little bit different than we do, and it's been great because it's an eye-opener for people us Norwegians who've lived here forever. And they had a great Christmas party. They had food vendors, lots going on with them, you know, being a part of our community. It's been great.
Wonderful. So if you wanted to leave our viewers with one thing, what would you tell them?
I would say, you know, we have a lot of great restaurants, boutiques, shopping, this great facility. Our sports programs are great. We have great events. We really focus on quality of life for our residents, you know, so that people coming to live here, work here, there's things to do. There's activities. There's always something going on. It's a big deal, you know, when you go to different communities, there's maybe not as much to do, but come to Watford City, there's a lot going on.
Okay, so you heard it here. Come to Watford City, and there's lots of job opportunities as well. So move your family, come on over. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time at another hometown.
My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Lund Oil, L's Boutique, Cornerstone Bank. Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now. My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Women's Way, First International Bank of Watford City, RTC Network, My hometown of Watford City is brought to you by Barrett Pharmacy, Dakota West Credit Union, Farmers Union Oil, Cenex of Watford City,